Vivien Leigh was more than Scarlett O'Hara. She became the image of femininity, grace, and fragile strength. The world fell in love with her. But that image cost her everything. Behind the myth was a woman torn apart by one great love, one haunting fear, and a daughter who never truly had her mother. Vivien was just 19 when she married Lee Holman, a barrister more than a decade her senior. Less than a year after her wedding, there was a baby's first cry. In 1933, she wrote a brief line in her diary, "I have a little girl." The birth nearly killed her. Vivien decided then and there she would never risk it again. And she never did. Little Suzanne became far more the child of a nanny and a wet nurse than of Vivien. At first, Vivien seemed content in her role as a young wife and mother. But something restless burned inside her, a hunger to shine. While her tiny daughter reached out chubby hands, Vivien's eyes were already fixed on the stage. Bit parts came first, tiny theater roles, advertisements, and finally, film. Vivien was uneasy in a world of pots, lace, and her husband's adoring glances. Home felt like a convent. Every day measured by the same quiet hours. Her husband would remind her again and again, "Leave the stage, tend to the family." But the lights were calling. In 1935, Vivien met Laurence Olivier. Two families cracked under the weight of new passion. Vivien left. Little Suzanne stayed behind with her father, by his insistence, and Vivien did not protest. She loved her daughter, but with a love distant, almost frightening in its remove. They say her ex-husband never judged her. In fact, he remained one of her closest friends for life. The true mother figure in Suzanne's life became Gertrude Hartley, Vivien's own mother. Gertrude brought Suzanne into her tranquil country home, filling her days with gardens, lessons in grace, and the safe shelter that Vivien's stormy life could not provide, because Vivien's star was rising fast. She had left Lee Holman entirely, drawn irrevocably to Olivier's magnetic pull. Hollywood beckoned. With it came an all-consuming whirlwind, American film sets, endless transatlantic crossings, an unrelenting press. Vivien and Suzanne's relationship became one defined by distance. Vivien sent loving letters, little gifts, fleeting moments of tenderness. There are photographs. Vivien with tiny Suzanne in beautiful dresses, gardens dappled in sun, images almost like storybook pages. But they were rare pauses in a life otherwise lived apart. Privately, Vivien was fighting an undiagnosed bipolar disorder, soaring highs, lavish shopping sprees, glittering parties, then crushing lows, long, dark descents into depression, wild rages, even hallucinations. Laurence Olivier stood by her side for years, but not even he could fully shield Suzanne from the echoes of Vivien's turmoil. When the war came, Suzanne and Gertrude were sent far across the ocean to a convent school in Vancouver. Vivien once came to visit. By then, she was famous enough that her arrival almost ended in disaster. The headmistress learned there were threats to kidnap the daughter of a movie star for ransom. Fearing for all the girls, she asked that Suzanne be taken out of the school immediately. So Suzanne went to a more ordinary school. When Europe grew safer, she returned to London, later attending a Swiss finishing school among wealthy heirs and heiresses. Longing for some piece of her mother's world, Suzanne tried enrolling in a dramatic arts academy, but it lasted only 2 years. She left the stage behind to teach at the School of Culture and Beauty, an academy founded by her grandmother, Gertrude. Vivien Leigh dazzled. The Mask of Virtue, Gone with the Wind, A Streetcar Named Desire, 2 Oscars, thousands of fan letters, banner headlines. She remembered every crew member's birthday on set, but sometimes forgot her own daughters. Once, Suzanne wrote a letter begging her to visit. Vivien simply forwarded it to her ex-husband, scrawling, "Aren't they funny and sweet, really?" Suzanne was not abandoned. They did see each other, once even taking a holiday together in Italy, mother, father, and daughter, in a fragile semblance of family. Vivien suffered 2 miscarriages with Olivier. Her dream of bearing him a child died there. So she drew Suzanne back into her orbit, by then a teenager, almost a stranger. At first, their bond was awkward, stiff, but slowly, the ice melted. They found a gentle understanding, something closer to quiet friendship than to typical mother-daughter ties. When Suzanne met insurance broker Robin Farrington, their first meeting nearly ended in disaster. Vivien's adored cat sank claws into Robin's hand. Instinctively, he flung the animal across the room. It hit the wall with a soft thud. Everyone froze, expecting an eruption, but Vivien just laughed. In 1957, Suzanne married Robin. A year later, Vivien became a grandmother for the first time with the birth of Neville. "It's wonderful. Being a grandmother is something marvelous and unimaginable," Vivien said. 2 more grandsons, Rupert and John, followed. Vivien finally tried to make up for lost time, pouring love into her grandsons in a way she never could for her daughter. In interviews, Suzanne always shielded her mother's memory. She understood Vivien's struggles, perhaps saw them with compassion, born of distance, and of the calm Gertrude had provided. She inherited some of Vivien's grace, even a ghost of her smile, but never her hunger for the stage. When Vivien died in 1967, at just 53, it was Suzanne who managed the estate, carefully preserving her mother's letters, diaries, and personal treasures. When scandalous biographies began to appear, filled with rumor and half-truths, Suzanne kept the archives sealed, as though guarding a sacred flame. Years later, she finally allowed Hugo Vickers to study them and write the only biography she could read in peace, the one she believed did justice to Vivien's complicated brilliance. She sometimes attended exhibits on Vivien, offering small, gracious comments to honor her mother's artistry, without feeding tabloid appetites. When asked why she never wrote her own memoirs, Suzanne would simply smile and say, "I loved my mother too much to share those memories with the world." Suzanne lived a long life, full of gardens, family, and quiet happiness far from cameras. She died in 2015, at the age of 81. Her sons keep the family legacy, not under bright lights, but in tender memories of a grandmother whose face once lit up cinema screens. Suzanne was the child of a woman who belonged to the world. But her life was no tragedy. It was a sanctuary, carefully built first by Gertrude, then by Suzanne herself. In the end, Vivien Leigh's only daughter grew up sheltered from the chaos of brilliance and lived long enough to guard its memory with grace. Subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments which Vivien Leigh role is your favorite. And let us know which story you'd like us to tell next. Thank you for watching.